Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new episodes of the Peptalk. We're here today with Arunima Bhanot to talk about the interesting topics like book reviews and Instagram and their entirely inherent connection with the publishing industry. Hello, Arunima. How are you today?
Hi Nidhi, I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Okay. So I am very excited to discuss these book reviews with you today. So because going through your reviews, all in all, go pretty hand in hand with the books, right? All the
Yeah.
critiques hold the major power here, and
Mhm.
everybody. Arunima is known as RubyRedShelves on the Instagram, and she's a very avid reader. Of course, she's in love with books. You guys need to check out her Instagram for that. And yeah, so let's talk to her about it in detail.
Yeah. I am an English literature student. I completed my bachelor's in 2020. The reason I pursued English was because of my love of reading, obviously. It's the books and English and the literature course, they go hand in hand. I've always loved reading, and thanks to my dad, I also developed a love of photography. So that was my main reason for joining Bookstagram. Like when I discovered there was such a thing as Bookstagram, like it combined books and photography, it felt like something that was made for me. So yeah, that is how I joined it, and that's how I came to review books as well.
That's great. Also, I
Yeah.
find that your Instagram handle is quite fascinating because it seems some like out of a fictional character or something, Ruby Red Shells. Would you like to
Yeah.
share the inspiration or the story behind it?
Yeah, sure. So Ruby Red actually comes from one of my favorite book series. It's called the Precious Stone series by Kirsten Gear. It's originally in German. I read the translated version. My friend introduced me to it. Like she randomly just bought the first book in the series at a book fair. So when she found out I like to read, she just let me borrow it, and I loved the book. I immediately bought the next book in the series, and yeah, that was just how it came to be. When I first started it, first started my page, I wasn't sure what to call it. So I went through a series of different names, but then Ruby Red Shelves just felt right.
Oh, that's pretty cute, actually.
Yeah.
And since how long have you been a part of Bookstagram scene and all you've been creating this content for the masses, basically?
Um, Technically, I've been part of Bookstagram for like 4 years, but at the very beginning, I wasn't very active. So I started it in my college days, like during my exam period. You know, when you're in exams and you just want to be distracted by everything. So I wasn't very active at the beginning, but slowly I came to it. So yeah, almost 4 years now.
Oh, 4 years is a long time. That seems to be like a
Yeah.
dedicated place. Wow.
Yeah.
And since you've been a part of Bookstagram for almost 4 years, you've seen the
Yeah.
trends change, and what comes
Yes.
and goes because there's a lot of it. And especially the
Yeah.
changes from, let's say, pre COVID and post COVID, because that
Oh,
has been
definitely.
a major turning
Yes.
point for every industry, I would
Yeah.
say. So,
Actually, yeah.
how do you think it impacted Bookstagram all in whole and on your personal level?
So when I started, Instagram was like, it was a budding social media app, sure, but still not as popular as it is today. This was the time before Reels, before stories. I remember Instagram stories being introduced, and then like everyone taking it up. Then Reels came. So it was a very different scenario just almost 4 years ago. It's been very different. There weren't many people like part of the Bookstagram community back then either. I accidentally came across some people discussing books on Instagram, that which inspired me to join. Um, yeah, but I guess there were still not many people. Pre-COVID, I think Bookstagram still took up a lot of, it inspired a lot of people. like they people who enjoyed reading, they wanted to share the love of books, so they joined a social media platform for the same. But COVID, I think, was a time when lots of people took up different hobbies. Reading was one of which. So, like to fill up their time or whatever, social media also became an important thing. And I think reading and social media combined made a lot of people join Bookstagram. So, like pre-COVID and post-COVID, like 2 years ago, this was a relatively smaller community. Now it's like every other person is a Bookstagrammer.
Yeah, that
It's
is
become
true.
very popular.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then from your particular account, we can also see you are pretty fond of book reviews as well. Like I've seen
Yeah.
your, captions and everything. So, how
Yeah.
do you think that these micro reviews work on Bookstagram?
I think micro reviews are a pretty new thing, of course, because before social media or before anything, traditional reviews were written in magazines, right? They were pretty long reviews where they discuss everything about a book. Micro reviews, like no one, I mean, not no one, but like most people don't read that. And unless they're seriously interested in reading or writing or a particular book. So micro reviews, I think they help a reader make their choice, make a selection. They there's a lot of reading options out there, and I guess micro reviews help with that. If you're looking for a book, micro reviews, sure, they're shorter, they don't explain everything about a book, but I feel like they cover the major points. Sure.
Yeah, that is true. Like it's part of the
Yeah.
current trend. Even newspapers and actual
Yeah.
journals are taking up micro reviews after being famous
Yes.
on Instagram. So, how do you think it's
Yeah.
impacting the publishing industry as a whole?
See, micro reviews are something that's always been used by the publishing industry, I guess, because book covers themselves, like they contain, you can usually find a single line or a few words from popular authors that have reviewed the book.
Yeah.
So micro reviews have always been in play. I guess right now it's had a positive as well as a negative impact because people read something. They may read a positive review about a book and just go with it, or they may read a negative review and won't decide to choose it. So
Mhm.
publishing industry can make use of that, I guess. With social media, yeah, social media has gotten like different types of reviewers. Definitely, people, different kinds of people choose to write reviews in different ways. Um, and yeah, I guess the publishing industry can use micro reviews to their advantage.
Yeah. Okay. But there was this pretty fascinating article published by the print in
Yeah,
2021.
yeah,
And I would like to
I
read the
remember.
headline for you. It basically said that
Yeah.
traditional book reviews are dead and bookstagrammers are killing it one post at a time. So, how does that make you feel in a cliche
uh,
reporter sort of sense?
yeah, the first time I read it, the article itself was fine, but I don't know, I was mad at the review. Like, how could you do this? This is something I love doing. Please don't smash it. Like, this is something that people love. But yeah, there are some points that I definitely agree with. The author puts forward lots of points, agreeable points, sure, but I wouldn't necessarily agree with the caption, like the title of the post. Um, Traditional reviews are still a thing.
Yeah.
Sure, bookstagrammers have taken it up a level. I think social media, like Bookstagram, BookTube, BookTalk, it has certainly taken things up a notch. I would most definitely agree that, sure, sometimes books that are not considered good literature, quote unquote good literature, get popular, and sometimes deserving books don't get the limelight. But I don't know. It's an interesting article, sure, but I wouldn't take it to heart.
Yeah, that's true. But there
Yeah.
were many other famous journals like The Guardian and Times of India.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
also talked about like in detail about these trends, and how
Mm-hmm.
negatively impact that they have on the industry. And it's fascinating to see that they also have a section called micro reviews on their website. So that's really interesting,
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
contradictory in itself.
Yeah.
No, but there's a difference I also noticed in myself, like how the micro reviews are on a specific journal and how are they on Instagram. So,
Hmm.
what do you think makes it, more favorable for the masses?
Um, so like traditional reviews have been something that's not easily accessible to everyone, I guess is the major point. Accessibility is a major point. So not everyone is going to buy a magazine to read a review, or not everyone is going to go through an entire newspaper. Like
Yeah,
most people just read the headlines. Right. So, but social media is something that everyone uses. Almost everyone on the planet uses, be it Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. So I think accessibility has become a major point in this.
okay.
Promotion through social media is like it's one of the biggest advantages, I guess. So yeah, this is why most people gravitate towards Bookstagram or any form of social media for book promotion or reading or whatever.
Yeah, completely. That
Sorry.
makes sense. But also, so I want to talk about a little bit on the Indian perspective, basically, because the
Hmm.
Indian, BookTube and Bookstagrammer community has also grown
Yeah,
quite a lot. And there was
yeah.
this major, heated conversation going around how if Bookstagram or Book Talk basically can keep people reading books, and
Hmm.
especially in India, I want to talk about it because it's majorly dominated by textbooks, educational
Yeah,
books.
yeah, true.
So, what do you think is the
So
impact of all of this?
Um, I think as for can Bookstagram or BookTube or BookTalk is not really a thing here
Yeah,
because we don't have TikTok.
yeah,
But
but TikTok is in
Bookstagram,
the real sense a lot.
just generally, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think as for them, inspiring reading, I'm sure it's yes, I agree to that. Like they can inspire reading. They have been inspiring reading.
Mm-hmm.
Educational, yes, I'm sure. In reading is not a popular trend in India. I would say we don't focus on reading extracurricular books, so to speak. Our focus is on education, like you said. Parents don't want their kids reading fiction or non-fiction. Non-fiction still okay, self-help books are okay, but fictional books are not given the priority. Like if you have time to read fictional books, why don't you read your textbooks? That's their perspective. So I would say this scenario has actually changed a lot in the past few years. I would say reading has become popular as we, I guess, become influenced by the Western culture. Reading has like among many things, reading has taken not a priority, sure, but people are beginning to take more interest in it, I would say.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, I was here 4 years ago, and compared to that time and now, there are so many Indian bookstagrammers now. Like they were almost non-existent back then, but now I'm happy to see a bigger community.
Yeah, that's definitely it. Like the community is
Yeah,
growing, and of course, that's why we're talking about it
yeah,
now because there has been a
yeah,
major
exactly.
impact on, and it connects everybody from publishers to authors to reviewers. Everybody's in a
Yeah,
chain, and the readers are, of course, is interested in all the point of views because that
yeah,
helps them make a better decision. But also for specifically a country like India, where the publishing industry is definitely thriving according to the statistics, the
yeah,
money is coming in, but the
yeah,
point is, again, it's mostly for educational textbooks. So all the fiction genre, even like we recently saw, Westlands got, they suffered a major setback,
yeah, yeah.
kind of like that. And that's a pretty big uh, publishing house that we're talking about.
Yes.
So if they suffer from it, so how do you think like Bookstagram is adding to it? Because I personally think so.
Um, yeah, so hearing about Westland was actually pretty shocking because it's associated with Amazon, and Amazon is like this giant in India or like all over the world. So
Yeah,
that
true.
was pretty surprising, pretty shocking. But yeah, I guess this was the result of COVID, because as we've seen, lots of businesses closed because of that. We've heard so many bookstores closing, like Full Circle in Khan Market also closed because of COVID. So yeah, I guess these last few years have been pretty hard on everything. Everything. How would you say you agree with it though?
I was talking in a sense that because
Hmm.
this change, because everybody wants it to be digital now, right? We're talking
Yeah.
about printing books, but printing books mostly in India happens with the, exam books or textbooks.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the
Hmm.
major chunk of it. The fiction, even the non-fiction biographies I'm
Yeah.
talking about, the production have
Hmm.
been cutting down pretty,
Yeah.
significantly. So, but
Hmm.
seeing all these books on the forefront has been pretty interesting, I would say. And most of them have remained a part of syllabus. Like I myself,
Yeah.
I'm an English literature graduate. So the titles that I've read, and they're pretty interesting, and I would say the core of Indian literature, but people haven't read them.
Hmm.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, but like I like it when I see books like Ice Cream Man, or Arundhati Roy's book on a pretty layout, and people are like, okay, we
Yeah.
need to, because everybody knows Arundhati Roy, but they're not reading
Yeah.
Arundhati Roy. That's the thing.
Yes.
So,
Yes. That's true.
and she has more books than the Ministry of Utmost Happiness. That's also a thing. So that's why.
Yeah. True.
So
True. True.
yeah, that was my main point basically.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I would definitely agree. Educational, like publishers that publish educational books or textbooks, so to speak, are definitely up and coming. They're at the forefront right now, but I'm also sure that the industry is changing. Like fiction books, or basically just textbooks are also taking up space right now. They're I think people are changing they're widening their views, so to speak, I guess. um, yes, textbooks and educational books are at the forefront, but the scenario is definitely changing, I would say.
No, I agree with this because so I'm
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't say huge, but I am really a big sort of comparatively to my friends in the circle, a big manga fan. So, but I haven't actually seen
Okay.
manga in bookstores like a lot. But now there are like proper
Mm-hmm.
shelves and sections of manga everywhere, like even in niche bookstores. So
Yes.
that's pretty fascinating and interesting to see.
That's true. I think in this last year or these last few months, a lot of people have taken up watching anime, and I think manga reading has come out of that. I don't
Yeah.
know why or what's happening, but lots of people have taken up anime watching.
Yeah. And that's also a pretty
So
fun way
yeah,
to explore literature, with adding art to it, because
yeah,
that just changes the
yeah,
whole meaning
absolutely.
and gives you more, I think, liberty to
Mm-hmm.
imagine.
Yes, absolutely. It gives more people, I guess, freedom. I guess, because anything with words and art, like if you take manga or graphic novels or comic books, anything there, a lot of people are taking up reading those right now. Like you said, they're coming up and coming in bookstores. I don't remember seeing them, say 1 year, 2 years ago.
Yeah,
But
me too.
now, whenever I go to big bookstores, if you so to speak, they
Yeah,
have a separate section for manga.
they
That
do.
makes me so happy to see.
They do.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that also impacts the whole review industry and critique industry, because manga, of course, are a bit, more on the aesthetic side, because it's all
yeah,
about art anyway. The story is the
yeah.
main part, of
True.
course, but it also looks
Mhm.
good on Instagram.
Yeah.
So that also adds
Yeah.
up more of the review, and, and it deals with whole, I would say, plot and themes in a different way. And I really like it
Hmm.
how Bookstagram is basically handling that. How do you think so?
Yeah. I haven't seen many manga readers on Bookstagram, so to speak. There are a few. Sure, I know a few. I have a few friends who read manga. So it's different on Bookstagram right now. I would say because manga is something that, like, for me personally, I don't read manga much or graphic novels. Like, I find it difficult to make sense of words and pictures together.
Okay.
So I guess it's different for every person because
Yeah.
graphic novels, like, I know people, I have friends who don't read at all because they find it supremely boring to just read text all around.
Yes.
Those are the people I recommend graphic novels or manga or comic books to. So I'm hoping Bookstagram takes up more of it. Sure.
So
Yeah.
since we're talking so much about books anyway, so what's your
Yeah.
favorite book? I'm very excited to know that.
Oh, that's so hard. That's like asking a foodie person what's your favorite food.
That's why I always
I
love
don't.
asking this question.
Yeah. Okay, I wouldn't say I have one single book. I have a few. I have a few like in my top favorites. So
Okay.
the one I mentioned, yeah, the one I mentioned before, Ruby Red, certainly that one. I love Ali Carter. She's an author. She's an American author. She writes young adult books and middle grade books on spies and heists and stuff centered around that. So I love her books. One series in particular, it's called Gallagher Girls. I love the whole series, like 6 books, but it's a long series, sure, but I recommend those to everyone who will read it.
Well, that's fascinating. So you have a favorite book in every genre.
You could say that, sure.
Yeah, okay. So what's your
So
favorite
fun.
genre then? I would ask that then.
Favorite genre, yeah, that's better. My favorite genre, it changes from time to time, but like currently the longest running has been young adult fantasy. I've always loved reading that. Yeah, I have a few favorites. I don't have a one favorite book from the entire genre, but yeah, if I were to pick one, it would definitely be bio fantasy.
Oh, that's cool. And since you're a English literature graduate, this is also
Yeah,
something I want to ask. From the
yeah,
classics, which one would you recommend?
yeah. Oh, I would recommend The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte.
Okay.
This was not something we read in school, in class, but I think we should have read it. It's like whenever you hear of the Bronte sisters, it's always Charlotte Bronte at the front, or maybe Wuthering Heights with Emily Bronte. But Anne Bronte is not that popular,
Yeah.
but I really loved her book, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall. That's one I would recommend.
Oh, that's great. Interesting. Some out of the context recommendations. Very good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, also, since you know that a lot of listeners of our podcast are,
mm,
first time writers, they're mostly trying to find space wherever they want to explore themselves. And Bookstagram,
yeah,
as we discussed, is one of those places as well. People are sharing their writing there. So, what is
yeah.
your sort of like a suggestion, being in the industry for so long? What do you recommend that they do?
That's very flattering to hear. Thank you for asking me that. As for book reviews or writing in general, I would say it's a very cliche statement, sure, but I would definitely say just be yourself because it took me a long time to understand that. Like when people used to tell me that, I wouldn't believe them or just like dismiss it as some cliche sort of thing. But being yourself, yeah, that's the most important thing I've found. Like however you write, however you interact with your audience, or if you get to make an audience, yeah, just be yourself. Share your interests, share what you like. That's the most important thing. Oh, and with book review writing, one thing I would like to share is just be kind. If you're starting out writing reviews or have been writing them for long, just be kind. An author has put in a lot of work to write a book. Unless it's something that's supremely problematic and you
Yeah.
feel like you need to share it, just remember to be kind. Don't slam an author.
That's a pretty important advice, I would say. That's
Yeah,
very important in doing so.
yeah. I've seen lots of people disregard that and just dismiss books and dismiss people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something I wanted to add.
That's a very nice way. That's good to know that there's a reviewer out there considering the feelings of the writers. I'm pretty sure they
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I hope there are more of us out there.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So, but thank you so much, Arunima, for sharing your
All
time
right.
and talking to us about your experiences and your process of how you
Yeah.
joined Bookstagram and how are you participating in it.
Yeah. You're
Thank you
welcome.
so
I
much for
love
joining.
being here.
Yeah. So
Thank
everybody,
you for
do
having me.
make sure to check out Arunima as RubyRedShelves on Instagram. She has an endless list of recommendations, and you can obviously find the book reviews that we've talked about extensively here on her
Yeah.
Instagram. So make sure to check it out. Thank you, Arunima. I hope we get to talk more about it some other time.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.